May be seated. Shabbat shalom, everybody. All right, Shabbat shalom, everybody. I know that there's some little kids outside. We're going to bring them in a minute. My remarks this morning are really about the children. If you happen to be under 12, maybe even under 15, I'm probably going to ask you in a few minutes to move your seats to come up here. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Well, it's a coin flip. Might be worth it. So, first of all, I want you to think about the sounds we no longer hear. For example, the unbearable phone off the hook sound. My kids have never heard it. The obnoxiously loud dialing of a modem. My kids have never heard it. The screech of fingernails dragged along a chalkboard. By the way, when I was sharing with my remarks with my dad yesterday, he actually stopped me right there and he said, "What do you mean your kids aren't going to hear the fingernails on a chalkboard?" I said, "What do you mean? What do I mean?" He says, "Don't they go to school?" I said, "Dad, chalkboards are extinct." He goes, "Since when? What are they using in schools?" And for those of you that know my dad, that is what I'm dealing with on a regular basis. I don't mean to tease him, but now it's okay, because certain sounds are best left in the dustbins of the past. Other sounds, however, are paramount to our very existence. They are entwined in our self-awareness, our identity, sounds without which we would not be the same. Now, there is an intimate, almost essential relationship between sound and memory. Now, many of you in this room, you've heard me speak on the subject of Jewish history. There is no such thing as Jewish history. There is only Jewish memory. Jewish history doesn't exist, only Jewish memory. History is confined to the pages of a book. History is confined to hallways of a museum. History is something you read about. History is dead. There's no such thing as Jewish history, only Jewish memory, and history is knowing what happened in the past. My friend, memory is asking how what happened in the past affects who I am today and how I will become in the future. But what happens to Jewish memory when certain sounds are no longer heard? Now, the American Jewish experience, it has to be understood alongside a soundtrack, when instead it's now being experienced in silence. And we run the risk of it being relegated to the dormancy of history instead of the vibrancy and intimacy of memory. Now, I struggled with this idea after hearing and stumbling across a recording of President Benjamin Harrison. President Benjamin Harrison, he was the 23rd president of the United States. He was in the White House from 1889 to 1893. And it's a short recording. It was made on an Edison phonograph, and I listened to it. I could hear his voice. And I remembered that he was our only president whose grandfather was also President William Henry Harrison. And he was the great-grandson of Benjamin Harrison V, who was one of our nation's founders, who signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Now imagine this for a second. Names reduced to pages in a book suddenly took on new meaning because I could hear the actual voice of a man whose great-grandfather considered Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, and George Washington his peers. The cadence, the vocabulary, the accent of his voice, it opened up my imagination. I wasn't watching Lin-Manuel Miranda fabricate the sound of America's past on the stage of a theater like he does so brilliantly in Hamilton. I was listening to an actual voice. But it was only a hint. 30-second, and it was recorded. It made history that's usually confined to words on a page leap to life, but it was only for a moment, and there was still a lot of distance. Now, those of us born before 1980, we grew up in a Jewish America that's still tight-roped between the Golden Medina and the shtetl. The story of 20th century American Jewry is one of unprecedented transition. All of us are anchored in some way to an immigrant or to a survivor. Family members who stumbled upon these shores with little or no money, a backstory of trauma and oppression, no English. They came here not only with Tevia's tradition, but that generation, they came with a rhyming mantra which was ambition. And they came with a soundtrack. Now, long before I learned the horrors of the Shoah, long before I learned the word pogrom, or the fierce work ethic and determination of the immigrant generation, I associated the triumphs and tribulations of the Jewish past with an accent. And it's an accent my children have never heard. And I bet you the majority of children in this room who are Jews have never heard. I knew nothing of tattooed numbers. I knew nothing of tenement houses, but whenever I heard the prattle of that accent, no matter what the subject was, something inside of me swelled. It was something familiar, magnetic, inspiring, a connection to a place I'd never been, a story I didn't yet fully know, and a tradition I was just being introduced to whenever I heard the accent. The feeling inside of me was just Jewish. You remember that accent? Our children have never heard it. רק ישמע לך ושמור נפשך מאוד, פן תשכח את הדברים אשר ראו עיניך, ופן יחמרו מלבביך כל ימי חייך והודעתם לבניך ולבני בניך. This is Moshe right before he dies. Right before he sends off the Israelites into the land of Israel, he says, take care, watch yourselves, so that you don't forget the things that you saw with your own eyes, so that they don't fade from your memory as long as you live. Make them known to your children and to your children's children. Now, the immortality of the Jew, Mark Twain called it the immortality of the Jew, is our compulsion and obsession to not just tell the story, our story, to our kids. We got to make that story come alive so it becomes theirs. It becomes memory, not history. But the story of last century, it came with a soundtrack. What happens when we don't have the soundtrack? I fear that my children and your children will understand the American Jewish experience as history. So we're going to try to change that today. I'm going to invite the kids who are here to come sit up here. Don't be shy. Come up here. Hannah, yes, all of you, come up here. Sit right up in the front. We're going to invite Michael. We're going to invite Mordecai, and we're going to invite David to have a seat in the front. These are nanogenarians, so this could go either way. Little kids, big kids, we are not going to talk about stories of trauma. We are just going to listen to their voices. Because unless you're a part of the Sadic family, you've never heard this accent. Zadie's 95 years old, one of 8. All 8 survived the Shoah. His late wife, Zichronah Livracha, Matthew's grandmother, survived the Warsaw Ghetto. We've got David, Mordecai. For those of you who have heard the movie I, Mordecai, it's now streaming, I believe, on Amazon. You can get it at a discounted price. I can't say the price, because it's shul. But we want to thank the producers of the movie. I, Mordecai is about Mordecai right here in front. I'm going to invite Mark to help me. We're just going to ask them questions. We don't usually use a microphone. We're going to use a microphone, what's called the Shem Chinuch. Without it, you're not going to be able to hear it. So I'm going to come down, I'm going to ask some questions. Let's see how this goes. Want to start with Mordecai, or you want to start with...
Let's start with Mordecai. Start with Mordecai.
Mordecai, can you tell everybody where you're from?
From Poland.
Where?
And I heard that you once almost came into a lot of money, $4 million. Can you tell that story?
I didn't get it yet.
Tell me the story of the scratch ticket.
When I get the $4 million, I tell you everything.
Tell them about the scratch.
Tell me about the scratch ticket. Did you once have a scratch ticket that got lost?
No.
No?
You forgot. Marvin, come on.
They didn't take this. And what do you like to do for fun?
For what?
For fun.
Fun. What do you like to do
Actually,
for fun?
sing what one more time?
For fun?
For
Yeah.
fun.
Telling jokes.
Tell us a joke. What's the story of the bloody hand?
Oh, this is...
Tell the story.
Okay.
Can the kids hear the story? Can the kids hear the story? Bloody hand. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the story of a bloody hand. I was learning plumbing by my boss. He told me I'm going to make an estimate and you find me from where the leak is coming in the bathroom. So I chop out the tiles, the ceramic tiles, to look for the leak inside the wall. But a very old building, gonna make a hole to the other bedroom, to the other apartment bedroom. I cut my hand, my finger on a ceramic tile, and blood was gushing. On my side of the bathroom, I didn't have no napkins, no toilet paper to wipe out the blood. So, but I see a roll of paper hanging in the other bedroom. I put my hand in, and I start to pull the toilet paper to wipe out my hand. But in the meantime, the woman that owns the apartment, she came from outside. And she ran into the bathroom. And she see a bloody hand come out from the wall and pulling toilet paper. And she fainted.
Good job. Good job. Who's up next?
Now, I will tell you, for the young people, okay? Today, you know, was the coronation of the king. We always make jokes that you could say anything with a British accent and it sounds smart. With a Yiddish accent, you could say almost anything, tell any story, you understand a little bit of it, and it's always funny, and it's always beautiful. Now, we're going to hear a few more things, maybe some a little bit more challenging questions. We're going to turn it over again. Just listen to the accent. This is your accent. Okay, we're going to turn it to Michael.
All right.
Michael, you're 95 years old. Wait, let's stand by. 95 years old. I heard the secret to living a long life. You know it. It has something to do with food, yes?
With food, yeah.
Tell everybody the secret.
You have to make home food.
You make your own food?
Whole food.
You make your own food?
My own food.
How?
I make chicken soup, everything, vegetable soup.
Every day?
No, once in 4 or 5 days.
So what do you eat for the 4 days?
I'm eating everything.
Everything.
I eat a lot of fish.
In the fish?
Fish, yeah. Every day fish.
What kind of fish?
What kind of fish?
I make myself fish.
What kind?
If I got the name.
Gefilte fish.
Gefilte fish.
You make your own gefilte fish?
Oh, yeah.
Tell them how do you make gefilte fish? Tell us how to make it.
That's a secret.
How about a hint? A hint how you make gefilte fish. A small hint.
No.
No?
No.
No.
I'm cooking, yeah.
Of course.
Of course. And we'll pass it to David, and we're going to come back to you in a second.
All right.
I hear you like to read.
Oh, very much. I'm fanatic of reading.
You're a fanatic with reading.
Yeah.
What language do you prefer to read in?
Polish.
Why do you read in Polish?
I feel more comfortable with that. I read in English too. I read in Hebrew, in Russian. Yeah, but in Polish I'm more comfortable.
How many languages do you speak?
5.
Tell everybody which languages do you speak?
Yiddish, Polish, Russian, a little English. Yeah. And
Ivrit, yeah.
Ifrit. 5 languages. How many kids speak 2 languages?
Wow.
Very good. Let's bet. Michael. Excellent. Michael, here you hold. This is your grandson.
My grandson, yeah, my famous grandson.
Your famous grandson. What was it like to see him read the Torah?
Every Saturday, you see them.
He wants to know what it was like to see him read Torah. When he was reading the Torah today.
Oh, today, yeah,
Yeah.
it was beautiful. I was very happy for him. He make a good job.
Do you want to tell him something special today?
I love him.
Keep going. What do you want more?
Wow. Okay.
Back to more.
Oh boy.
Roll the dice with
Oh
more.
boy. Oh boy. Here we go.
Does anybody have a question? Say again.
Oh, good question.
Mordecai, how did you come to the United States?
How I come to the United States. I emigrated from Poland with a boat. I came to Haifa. And I live in Israel about 15 years. And then I emigrated, I came a tourist to America. And somebody introduced me a woman that she was going to Israel to look for a wife 2 times. So I tell her, why are you going to Israel look for a wife? You have right here. And I know my wife 3 days, and we marry in 3 days, and we marry in Brooklyn. Yeah, we stay in the line, downtown Brooklyn, with different nationalities. And this was more than 50 years ago. We signed some papers, and the judge says, give me $4. Well, this time was get married, it was costing $4.
How much does it cost today to
And later on was a Jewish wedding in Brooklyn, Marquis Room. Today to get married, better not to get married.
You have a question? Yeah. Okay. One piece of advice that you give to all the young
The
people.
young people get married, have a lot of kids. Jewish needs the kids, right? And be happy. That's the most important thing. No matter what you do, be happy.
What do you want to say to the kids? Advice to the kids.
To the kids, to go in school, teacher in Jewish, to be Jewish children.
Okay, this is going to be good. What do you want to give advice to the kids? To all the kids.
Well, you have to sit all the time and learn good, to get good education, so you never have to work hard in your life, like I did.